Well, joining us now is Tamirat Negera Feyisa, an Ethiopian analyst and editor at the Terara Network in the capital, Addis Ababa. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for inviting me and letting me join you here.
Well, help us understand the situation as of today, since this Tigrayan war began, and it appears there's no end in sight, even with the mediation efforts made by regional bodies and stakeholders. You know, the government has repeatedly said it would not be willing to hold talks with the TPLF, which it has described as a terrorist organization, and even the TPLF is also accusing the AU of bias.
Yes, the situation currently is worsened, and it also started by TPLF attacking the northern command of the Ethiopian National Defense Force, which was based mainly in Tigray. And after the conflict started in November, the Ethiopian government withdrew its entire force from Tigray so that to give peace and discussion a chance and to allow discussion. And the government did this with unilateral ceasefire. But as your report earlier mentioned, the TPLF terrorist group chose to actually advance into further areas in Amhara, in Afar, and even claim to oust the elected government from Ethiopia and coming to Addis and installing their own new government. And this totally destroyed the chance for discussion or any kind of negotiation or any kind of political dialogue, because the TPLF started the war as a terrorist organization, and it is still functioning as a terrorist organization. As you just mentioned, it is looting not only USAID properties, but citizens' properties, banks, destroying houses, committing many kind of atrocities. So the government has rightfully labeled it a terrorist organization, and the government's stance not to negotiate with a terrorist organization like TPLF is extremely supported throughout the country. And as you know, last week, I guess Thursday, the Nigerian government said it would not have any kind of negotiation with Boko Haram. The situation with the Ethiopian government versus the TPLF is actually worse than the Boko Haram, because the Boko Haram was never a government. TPLF was once upon a time a government, and its aim is actually not only to come back to power, but to disintegrate Ethiopia. This they have said publicly. So the government stance not to negotiate with a terrorist organization is rightful. But what makes the government different, Ethiopia is a founding member of OAU and a sitting place for the AU, and Ethiopia respects the involvement of other African countries as partners, as dialogues, even though we are very adamant on our non-interventionist policy of other countries into our internal affairs. The Ethiopian government welcomed part of the AU initiative in GERD, and this could be also an opportunity. But the TPLF said the AU is biased, it will not be willing to negotiate in any manner. The AU, as you know, recently appointed Nigerian former President Olusegun Obasanjo as a Horn special envoy. Yeah. And I expect the Ethiopian government at least to have a discussion with His Excellency and communicate to him what the Ethiopian position is. But
well, talking about the government,
okay.
Talking about the government, you've just, mentioned that you expect the AU envoys, discuss with the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. It's been 10 months of fighting in this region and casualties are rising. Mm-hmm. Well, has this had, any impact on the overall perception of Prime Minister who came into power promising reforms?
Yes, rightfully so, because the government, especially the Western media, hyped Prime Minister Abiy's reforms and kind of pictured him in this angelic form rather than just an ordinary African leader with complex problems, trying to solve complex situations, which he inherited from previous regimes and structures and economical challenges and regional challenges. They hyped him to the point of Nobel laureate, and now they're trying to bring him down. But the reality is much more complex than that. And second important thing, this is not about the Prime Minister of Abiy Ahmed. This is about Ethiopia, the survival of the country, which is in danger because of TPLF and its allies like the OLF. So actually, even though the international community, specifically the Western countries, are much more against him, his popularity in Ethiopia has increased 100-fold because he has become now much more committed to fighting TPLF. Previously, actually, he was willing to listen to them. You know, he sent elders, even though many in the country were telling him, even his own advisors or the public was telling him, TPLF is not somebody you kind of simply negotiate. And TPLF proved the point that they're not to be negotiated.
All right. Now, aside the war in Tigray, there have also been ethnic clashes in Ethiopia's Oromia region. Now, you know, that's in the western region, and that has killed dozens of people. Yes. How is the government tackling these conflicts?
First of all, what's going on in Oromia, particularly in Wallagga region, is not ethnic clashes. That's a very false narrative perpetrated by Western media that is probably more supportive of the TPLF and with the agenda of overthrowing the prime minister. What's happening in Oromia is an extremely organized massacre against the Amharas and other non-Oromos that are living in Oromia because the entire structure is now much more online of ethnic cleansing. These ethnic regions, Oromia, Amhara, Tigray, Afar, Somali, have this ideology that only a particular ethnic group of that people is supposed to live there. And this is against the demographics of these people, these regions. For example, in Wallagga, for hundreds of years, people from different ethnic groups have been living. But now that Wallagga is in Oromia, non-Oromos are threatened every day. And on top of that, the group that is primarily responsible for the massacre in Wallagga, which is OLF, which 2 weeks ago signed a partnership with TPLF, is performing these massacres, organized massacres, against the Amhara to destabilize the entire region and precisely to withdraw the troops from the north so that they can come to the west and the TPLF could have a breathing chance. On your question, what the Prime Minister Prime Minister Abiy is doing, Prime Minister Abiy is kind of shorthand in this area or not serious about this Oromia region because this is the region his ruling party, the OPDO, comes from. He's from the Oromia region. And his stance to be very serious and adamant on OPDO and OLF supporters is one of his major challenges going forward.
All right then. Tamarat Negera Feija, thank you for your thoughts on Network Africa.
Thank you very much for your opportunity.